What's going on, everybody? Steel Jedi here. And I was told by one of my viewers, Garbage Highlights, that I should do a real mock draft, even though I think mine have been real and realistic in the past couple of mock drafts. I'm here to shout him out to say this is a real mock draft. And without further ado, let's get into it. First round, not much has changed. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting TJ Watt. He's an outside linebacker out of Wisconsin. He just has impeccable work ethic. And from only starting 1 year at outside linebacker after the injuries he sustained, he still was able to have 11 and a half sacks. And for somebody who's playing that position for the first year of his entire career playing football, and he has 11 and a half sacks, especially in the Big Ten, that just blew me out of the water. And a lot of people see him as an inside linebacker. I see him as an outside linebacker, but that's the thing that everybody loves about him. He's versatile. He could play inside, he could play outside. Very similar to Bud Dupree a couple of years back, except Bud Dupree was pigeonholed more towards the outside linebacker mold. So, yeah, I think you bring TJ Watt in, you develop him behind James Harrison for a year or two, and have him slowly be worked into the system, because I feel like if he does increase his arsenal in terms of hand moves, in terms of pass rush moves in general, he could be a Pro Bowl outside linebacker for us, and he would be a perfect pairing to Bud Dupree for years to come. Second pick is a little bit of a risk, but I can explain why I have him in the second round. I have us picking up Fabian Moreau, cornerback out of UCLA. You know how much I like this guy. Everybody knows how much I like this guy for a while now. And because of his injury, he's dropping into the second round. He was always considered maybe a second or maybe late first round pick. But think about it this way. Personally, I believe both of the corners from Florida are going to drop into the second round. I feel like Sidney Jones is going to drop into the second round because of the injury he sustained, and that's at least a 6-month recovery. So those three corners are going to be taken off the board before Fabian Moreau even is taken. And to be honest with you, I think the only teams in front of us in the second round that would want to go corner would be Dallas, Green Bay, and maybe Kansas City or Philadelphia. Okay, but regardless, there's three right there that those corners would be taken. But regardless, because here's how I see it: Green Bay could go either way, go outside linebacker or corner for round one. Same thing with Dallas. So it's really a crapshoot, but I feel like not Lorenzo Jerome, sorry, that's my next pick, but Fabian Moreau can come into Pittsburgh, can really develop, and maybe not start the year. Maybe we put Ross Cocker out there and see how he does. But regardless, I do not think he's the long-term answer. And you slowly work Fabian Moreau in, like we did with Artie Burns. It's this kind of method that we've used for a lot of different positions. Bud Dupree a couple of years ago. Now, Artie Burns last year. Sean Davis, even last year, he played some slot corner, some nickel corner, but he also then got moved to strong safety slash free safety. So, first pick in the third round, I had my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Lorenzo Jerome. He's a free safety out of St. Francis in Pennsylvania. I know this may be a little bit of a risk as well because of the small school and because he didn't really have great, like, eye-popping stats at the combine. But you put his tape on, and if you include the Senior Bowl and the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, his last season, the season that he just completed, he would have had a total of 10 interceptions, which means you can bring him in, maybe sit him behind Mike Mitchell for a year, and work him in to the lineup when somebody needs a breather, because I personally believe that he could take Mike Mitchell's spot next season. We won't re-sign Mike Mitchell next season if they are really high on Lorenzo Jerome, free safety out of St. Francis. Second pick of the third round, I have a guy who a lot of people are talking about now, and this may be a little too far down for him, considering how the quarterback draft or how the quarterback class fares in this NFL draft. But I have my Pittsburgh Steelers, the second pick in the third round, which is our compensatory pick, selecting Joshua Dobbs, quarterback out of Tennessee. You bring him in, you sit him behind Ben Roethlisberger. He already has praised the Pittsburgh Steelers organization when he came in for a visit, and Ben Roethlisberger met with both Josh Dobbs and Patrick Mahomes when he was in the building. So, hey, we might even go Patrick Mahomes round one if he lasts to us. But regardless, I have us picking up Joshua Dobbs. They're showing a lot of interest in him, similar to what they were doing last year with Dak Prescott. But the second he got that DUI after the combine, that kind of took him off their boards. You won't have that kind of problem with Josh Dobbs. He's an aerospace engineer major at Tennessee, and he really could come in and learn behind Ben Roethlisberger for a couple of years and really turn into the next heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger. That way, we won't have to worry about going after quarterback in the following year's draft, and we can focus on depth and other positions of need. Um, in the fourth round, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting James Conner, another guy who might not last in the fourth round, but because of the deep, deep running back class, James Conner could potentially last to round four. You bring him into Pittsburgh, he's not going to have to move very far. He went to Pitt. He's a hometown boy. He's already loved the Pittsburgh Steelers since he was a kid. He would be a great 1-2 punch with Le'Veon Bell, and you have Niall Davis as your third back, but Niall Davis would mostly be a kick and punt return specialist, but mostly kick. I think they're going to try and find a way to get a different punt returner in there to try and limit Antonio Brown's exposure to get injuries. Fifth round, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Shaquille Griffin, cornerback out of UCF. He's a bit of a project, but the reason I have them picking him up is one, because of pure depth, and two, say for example, Fabian Moreau does not work out, or Fabian Moreau cannot play for a while, and you really like Griffin, which they've shown a lot of interest. They've set up private workouts for him. You bring him in, and you slowly start to develop him. I mean, to me, he could be another Richard Sherman type scenario. Not saying that they're the same player. What I'm saying is the type of scenario that they were put under could be very similar. In the sixth round, I have a guy who is dropping because of the fact that he had a pretty gruesome injury a couple years ago, and or actually 2 years ago, and came back and he was explosive. He really showed everybody that he deserved a high pick, but because of the injury and because he really only had 1 year of healthy starting production, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers in the sixth round selecting Joe Mathis, outside linebacker out of Washington. Seventh round, let's get right into this because this is getting into a long video. I have my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Hardy Nickerson, who's an inside linebacker from Illinois, just pure depth. And I believe, honestly, that Tyler Matakevich and Vince Williams are going to have a pretty good competition for that second starting spot opposite of Ryan Shazier. But you bring Hardy Nickerson in just for pure depth, and I believe with this draft, this draft will propel my Pittsburgh Steelers to that seventh Lombardi that we've been chasing for years now. One last thing before you guys leave, I have an announcement to make. I just received news, and we've been talking about this for a while, but I just received news from the Renegade 412, who runs NFL Draft Emporium, which is a separate YouTube channel. I just got news from him that unfortunately, because of his job that he works now, I mean, he's pretty busy. I will be taking the reins on NFL Draft Emporium. Everything will be exactly the same in terms of how he runs the channel, the intro, everything like that. And the only thing that's going to be different is instead of seeing his face on that channel, it's going to be mine. And I will make it as entertaining as possible. I already have a new setup for a studio, and I will be making it similar to something like a Schleg Daddy TV YouTube channel, in which I will be doing full first rounds, not team specific mock drafts, but full first rounds or full first 2 rounds. And I will be putting up a couple of videos for that in the next couple of weeks before the draft. So, with that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Go subscribe to the NFL Draft Emporium channel, and may the steel be with you.